Brooklyn Nets Media Day is in the books and training camp officially began today. It runs through the next 2 weeks and then we'll get preseason Nets basketball. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Brooklyn Boys Show. I am your host, Josh Williver. Today, joined by a very special guest, Mike Biscaglietta is joining us right here on the show to talk all things Nets basketball and preview 2025 training camp. Make sure you hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. It helps us grow a ton right here on the show and spreads this out to more Nets fans. If you haven't done so yet, check out Mike's work. I put some of it in the description below. But Mike, how you doing? Thanks for joining us, and please tell people where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, Josh, thank you for having me on your show. I'm looking forward to talk a little Nets basketball. Looking forward to getting into this upcoming season. So yeah, find me at Mike Delivers Pod on Twitter. Bad Weather Fans is the YouTube channel. I'm a Nets fan. I actually do a podcast with a Knicks fan, unfortunately. But if you want to check us out, go to Bad Weather Fans on YouTube. We have a lot of fun. And yeah, let's get into it, Josh. Let's have some fun here tonight.
Absolutely appreciate you all joining us. If you haven't done so yet, and I guess what we'll start is Media Day. Yesterday, the surprising news, we heard Yegor Gielman was dealing with a plantar fascia tear, which I'm no medical expert, but my mom, who is, tells me that that is some sort of ligament, I think, near your ankle. And Sean Marks revealed that in his press conference earlier. Is that at all concerning to you, Mike, that he's already playing through injury so far? And you got to hope this doesn't affect his rookie campaign.
Yeah, Josh, I think it's obviously concerning because you don't want to hear that your guy that you drafted number 8 is hurt.
Yes.
I think more of the problem is, as a Net fan, right? You're getting all excited about the NBA lottery, then they fall to 8th in the lottery. It's like, Then the draft night comes, and there's a lot of people that are upset with the pick. Who knows? Like, I think it's unfair to characterize somebody that's never played a game.
Yeah.
But it just seems to keep on going where now you hear this news. And as a Net fan, it's been such a rough couple of seasons with some players asking to be traded that were superstars. The Nets now into a rebuild. Last season was the biggest snooze fest there ever has been for the Nets in decades. So now here you are into training camp, really getting excited about this upcoming season. And, they drop this news on you, and it just seems fitting, right? It's like it never ends with something disappointing.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think this is going to be an injury that's going to linger for a long time. He'll be okay. That's not more my concern, but it's just always something to have some sort of bad news when you're, as a Net fan, maybe in the first time in a long time, you're finally feeling a little bit of positivity, and you hear that, and it just kind of brings you down and, reminds you of some of the negativity and disappointing, but I think ultimately he'll be okay, but you're just going to have to wait a little bit longer if you're a Nets fan to see the 8th overall pick in the NBA draft get onto the court. And, hopefully you see him at the start of the regular season, but obviously now it looks like preseason games are going to be a little bit more difficult for him to play.
100%. It feels like we're just getting ready to ramp up for this season. And new season brings, obviously, this team's going to be a tanking team. But look, there's no doubt I'm still excited for the season. I think I said this a couple nights ago. Like, yes, this is going to be an awful team. They should probably win less than 20 games. I'm not sure where your head's at on that. Please let us know. But to me, like, I started out at like 23-ish. I thought Jordi Fernandez could coach a basketball team to be good enough. I've sort of shimmied my way down into the 18, 19 range, but I wouldn't be shocked if it's more like 15 because of how bad this Nets team is going to be and how bad they are on paper. But yes, it feels like even though there's so much suffering attached to the season, there's still just so much excitement. We wanted to get to training camp, get to see these rookies play. It's not every day. In fact, it's never happened where a team welcomes 5 rookies into the building. So we heard a ton of good stuff about Saraf, which I'm excited to unpack later in the episode. And I think that's a key point. But you're right. Like, we were just ready to turn the corner, and then we get smacked by the blind side of this upsetting injury news. I sure hope you're right when you say that hopefully this is not a long-term injury and something that lingers through with him. We saw apparently Claxton was playing through an injury last year. Obviously, there was a ton of injuries in the Big Three era. When we were talking about it backstage, we both thought this team was destined to go all the way. But it feels like whenever this Nets team is inching closer, to anything, there's always a setback. And hopefully
Yeah.
for Yegor Gielman. This is not a critical one. I guess where I want to go with this is, let's say he's healthy. Where do you stand on Gielman? I was personally extremely surprised with the pick, but that doesn't mean I'm not excited to see the guy play out. I think that his playmaking abilities truly elevate a team. I think despite what we saw in the summer league, he gets most of his run at the point guard spot. And look, if he shoots the three ball like he did in the summer league and he's not afraid to shoot, pull, and get frankly disrespected when defenders would, undercut screens, that's the Igor Gioman I'm excited to see. And if he can bank some threes, man, he's going to be an exciting guy to watch.
Well, if you remember when draft night came and the Nets selected him, everybody was complaining, "Oh, this guy shoots
Yeah.
33% from three. He's not a good
27 it
three-point
was
shooter."
in college.
27%,
And he
right?
was injured too.
So then we go into the summer league, and well, he's not playing point guard as much, but he's
Right.
he's knocking down some threes. He's looking good off screens, and people were pleasantly surprised by that. Now the kid's 19 years old. I think anybody that's going to categorize somebody and knows what's happening before they even got to the games it's just ridiculous. There's no way to really know. What will ultimately tell the tale of time is, what happens in 3, 4, 5 years from now if he ends up being a top level NBA player. But to criticize him before he's ever played an NBA game is ridiculous. And I do respect the Net fans that have come a long way in this thought process of, okay, you're upset about the pick, but now he's here. So you have to just
I'm
hope
losing you and your
hope for the
audio.
best.
Can you hear me?
I got you. Yeah. Am I going in and out?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think I got you back now.
All right. Yeah. So just saying
Gotcha.
with Yegor, give him a break. He hasn't even played games yet. And
Yeah.
for Net fans, I guess I understand them being upset with the pick and not loving it, but you can't take it out on him. Let's see what happens. Give him a chance. There's no such thing as somebody that fails before they even play a game.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect on draft night. If you go back and look at NBA draft night records and you look at guys in the 6th pick, the 12th pick, the 15th pick, nobody knows. All fans are always complaining. Giannis Antetokounmpo was the 15th pick. He ends up being one of the best players in the history of the NBA. Now, I'm not saying he's going to turn into that, but I am saying you got to let it play out and see what happens before you can make judgment on somebody's going to be a good pro, bad pro. You got to let them play games. And then when that happens, a couple of years from now, then you can make a fair assessment.
100%. And you talk about the guys that are dominating in this league. Nikola Jokic, a late second round pick. I mean, that was basically a throwaway pick. And you talk about a guy who's won multiple MVPs, brought Denver its first championship. So you truly never know with the draft. And I would say probably, when you compare the NFL draft to like the NFL or the NBA to the NFL draft, they're so different where, the 8th overall pick is supposed to be cream of the crop talent. And at this point in the NBA, we don't know what we're going to get out of Yegor Gielman. So I think that's what's so interesting about it for me. Of course, StreamYard's having technical difficulties, so I cannot hear myself well through my headset. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, cool.
But I don't know why this is going in and out, which sucks.
We're good. We're good.
Maybe.
We'll roll with the punches. I can tell you, I've done a lot of live. I've helped some.
I don't know.
I've done a live broadcast on a boat once, and somebody's headphones were knocking on off, and the internet was going in and out. So we'll have some fun here. It's all good. Technical
100%. I think this sounds much better.
There you go.
But yeah, there we go. What I was saying about Igor Gielman, you got to give him a chance. I completely agree with you on that. But look, let's see what this guy plays out to be. I think he certainly has his role carved out to be the future of this Brooklyn Nets team, to lead this squad. Question is, can he step up? Can he do it? This is not a first-year thing. This doesn't have to happen this year. Obviously, I think the development of him and all 5 rookies are going to be extremely interesting, who they prioritize in the NBA, who's on Long Island, which is probably Ben Suraf, but who will break down in a couple of minutes on the show. I think that's an aspect that Jordi Fernandez has to focus on, whether it's winning games and tight ones entering the fourth quarter, or is it Yegor Gielman next year? And I think there's a ton of pressure on Yegor. This is not only about his NBA career. Like, nobody's quite saying this out loud, but let's be honest here. Sean Mark's job is also relying on this pick to pan out successfully.
Oh, yeah.
I'm giving him this year in the 26 class. Like, by 2027, we should have all the telling tales we need. I mean, personally, not sure about you, Mike. So I'll get your temperature check on where you're at on marks, where you're at on the win total here, because I've thrown out a couple things that are up for hot topic within the Nets community. But Mark should have been out the door a long time ago. And the fact that he didn't trade up into this draft and back up into this lottery, I get that quantity over quality. You want to get as many prospects as you can, but that was not befuddling. That's not the right word, but perplexing enough in its own right. And then the way that the whole big three broke down was more than enough for me to already see Sean Marks out the door. But here he is, still
Yeah,
well employed.
so the Sean Marks one is interesting from a few different lenses. First off, when he got here to the Nets originally, they were a train wreck, right? They had
Mhm.
none of their own assets. They couldn't make any of their picks. They had the worst roster in the league, and they had no chance of winning basketball games. He took them out of the abyss. He made shrewd trades to get guys like Karis LeVert, and then would select Karis LeVert, Jared Allen, and he turned this team into a team that made it to the playoffs, lost to the Sixers, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, and five, right? But
Yeah.
you felt that they were an up and coming team with Kenny Atkinson. They have great cap space, so they're able to then slide in and essentially sign Kyrie and Kevin Durant with only losing D'Angelo Russell. So they kept the same roster intact. So from that perspective there, then Sean Marks goes out and makes a trade and gets James Harden. He's got Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant. That roster from where they were is a spectacular job as a GM. Essentially, once he's gotten to that point, everything's been downhill. Now, a lot of
Mhm.
it's not his own fault. Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant were personalities that did not blend together and made it extremely difficult to win basketball games. If they had any cohesive unit, if they have any selfless acts, this team's winning championships. But there's a whole lot of reasons that didn't go down. Since then, Sean Marks has done a below average job. So I think I would pose the question of, would you feel more comfortable with him now? Because let's say it's more of what he has done the first time. I personally thought it was time for a change, but I do feel more comfortable with him in this role, with getting rid of the egos, getting rid of the stars, and trying it a different way. I'm okay with that. But yes, if he fails with these picks, there is no way he can be back. There's just no way to do it. He's going to have a surplus of draft picks. The next couple of years, they're going to be drafting young talent. I mean, if these guys don't pan out and they are not good, he's gone. Jordy Fernandez is gone,
Mhm.
and the Nets are blowing it up once again.
Uh,
This roster this roster, I would expect to not win many games, but what Jordy did last year surprised me the way he got more
100%.
talent out of him. So, like, would you be surprised if, Michael Porter Jr. has a really great season? Cam Thomas had, horrible contract negotiations that were made public, and people on both sides of it were very passionate about what happened. You would expect Cam's going to come out here and ball. So, I if you look at the roster top down, they're so young and it's impossible to see them winning games. But I also think the Jordy effect has them win a few more games than net fans probably want. And they end up winning like 28, 29 games
Oh,
just
wow.
because they play hard and he gets the most out of them. Now, I don't think they're the most talented group. They have no veterans. Their oldest player on the roster is Terrence Mann at 28. But don't be surprised if they win more in the upper 20s just because of how hard they're
Wow.
going to play and what he's going to get out of them. Now, I don't think they're good. And I like your first point you made, which was a really good one. Last season stunk because none of these guys were really going to be here, and we were just kind of wasting our time. They're going to stink this year, but they're going to stink with our guys. And
Yeah.
we're going to watch them develop. So it might not be a winning season, but it'll definitely be a lot more fun season based on the aspect that they're developing their own talent, right? Like
Mm.
Noah Clowney, another year, the five rookies we've mentioned,
Yep.
and that's really it.
Yeah. I mean, 29-30 is probably the highest I've heard, not only here, but around the Nets community. So you're an optimistic guy. I am a full believer in the Jordy Fernandez effect. I've said it publicly on this show before. I am fully ready to give him the contract extension he wants to be this Nets head coach long term. You talked about how he coached up the beginning of that season. I mean, you were competing. You were taking the Celtics to overtime. You took the undefeated 12-0 Cavaliers down to the final buzzer.
Yeah.
What'd you take? The Nuggets down to the final possession. I mean, that Nets
Knicks a
team
couple times.
Knicks a couple times and all early in the season. And like this Nets team was hovering around like 7 seed and they were still like playing material come November. And that's what was so interesting to me. I think Jordy Fernandez did a great job there, but then Sean Marks was basically like, guys, let's get our head out of the gutter. We need a pick here. We'll trade Dorian Finney-Smith. We'll trade Dennis Schroeder. Just emergency sell. We stop.
Yeah.
We didn't expect you to be this good. So I think that 100% that's all Jordy Fernandez and the incredible job him and the coaching staff did. So I'm super excited to see how that happens this year. The difference is, Mike, at least to me, the biggest difference. Last year, you're talking about winning games with Dennis Schroeder, and you didn't have a single pick last year, not first or second. This year, you have the opportunity to develop 5 guys from the ground up. And yes, some of them have pro basketball experience. Nolan Traore, Ben Saraf played overseas. That's great for them. But welcome to the NBA. It's a completely new world. You get to start these guys up, and I think it's kind of good that you're not getting these guys into a system where they're forced to win games where mistakes are going to be accepted. Look, to me, this Nets team has going to have a ton of learning opportunities and a ton of room for growth, but I'm super excited to see how Jordy Fernandez not only competes in games with good teams, which I think he can, to your point, but also is able to develop these rookies and truly see what they have, even though it's only year one of what's going to be an extensive rebuild.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, I get to watch guys that I know are going to be Nets long term and for a while. Last year, I didn't know who was in and out. I didn't know who was going to be here. I knew these guys were trade candidates to get other picks back. Like those conversations will all stop. It will actually be about basketball and basketball development. It'll be, oh man, this guy's better than I thought, or oh, I can't believe he's underperforming. But we'll get to see that live in action, which we haven't had for a couple of for a longest of time, right? It was title chances, which was different. And then the last couple of years have just been so bad. I think the last couple of years has just taken a lot out of Net fans because they knew there wasn't a chance to win or develop, and they were kind of stuck in limbo. Now we're at least in the development phase of things, and you can get excited about a young player starting to play better. But to your point, they have to do it. Like they have to show signs of development. They can't have a bad year and just have no overall signs of development from these guys. We need to see flashes at points. We need to see them coached up. We need to see them have some random wins here and there where they shouldn't have won. Like that all
like the Rockets game when they scored 2 threes. I mean, that was such a fun game, even though the season was already over.
Yeah. And, it's just the fights with people of, winning games when people want them to lose because they're going to tank. I personally, this season too, like, don't worry, they're going to lose. They're going to end up in the lottery again. So I would almost say don't root for wins. Don't root for losses because you're thinking this is going to be better for the tank. They're going to lose. Root for them to win, and they'll just lose games anyway. I promise you. And the truth be told, like now with the lottery, you could have the first amount of balls in the ping pong, or you could have like the Dallas Mavericks. It doesn't matter as much if you're first, second, fifth, eighth, sixth. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. So win as many games as you can. See what happens from there. But they'll lose. And next year we'll draft another bunch of young guys, and then we'll know if Sean Marks is still the GM here or not.
Look, I like to see winning basketball. I'm going to root for this team to compete night in and night out. I can't fully commit to rooting against my favorite team, but come on. At the end of the day, this season, we are fully in it for as good a pick as we can get. But you're right, Mike. The way this lottery is set up, I don't know if you're a fan of this, but my solution I propose: you have a top half lottery, you split the first 7. They have their own lottery. You have a back half lottery with the 7 teams in the lottery with the better record. So that way, there's no Dallas leapfrogging with a 1% chance. Who played postseason basketball? Like that makes no sense. They were a playing team when everybody else was in Cancun. They were genuinely competing for a chance at the championship, and I think they finished with above 500 record. So it's so ridiculous. Like I could get into the weeds and wax, but that's how I spend my time in the off season. So I'm not really interested in discussing how much I hate the lottery. But Mike, I want to take a second here. Let's do a quick clip that I think was powerful from Jordy Fernandez yesterday from Media Day, and then we'll react to it at the end here.
Commitment, and the good thing is
there's
a lot more corporate knowledge of what we're trying to achieve, right, as a group, and building those relationships. Now we've been able to follow everyone's summer, and you guys will see it, but not just CT's body, but also Dayron. Noah looks like a man, and he's been working really hard. Jalen, Tyrese. I could go down the line of the guys that have put their work in, and they're ready for camp and using this summer, to get something, positive for yourself, but also positive for the group. So, very happy how things went, how the coaching staff worked, how the players have been committed to that development, and now reality starts now that it's fight and compete for something. And like I said before, everybody has something to fight for, whether it's a starting position, a rotation position, uh, a spot on the roster, or a two-way, and that's exciting.
So I think he provides a lot of great things there. First of all, there's competition heading into camp. This is not a we'll roll with Katie, Kyrie, and whoever fills out the end of the bench. The Chris Chiozas of the world will just be added onto our roster for no
Right.
reason. But I like sort of the competitive vibe, and we've seen it. This Nets team isn't afraid to move on from guys that they enjoyed having. I think Jordy Fernandez loved Keon Johnson, a season ago, but
Right.
it's clear that he had no future in the league. He wasn't going to develop more. He wasn't going to become a better player. And at the end of the day, that's what a tanking team is looked for. Guys who are good 3-4 years down the line from now. So that's what Keon Johnson didn't fit the bill. But what I really want to highlight there from Jordy Fernandez, and I think this is a big one, like someone who has been up in the air all off season around Dayron getting a new contract, between Nick Claxton's, whole thing, I would say, is he going to get traded? The
Right.
contract's nice. There's teams hungry for a rebounding center. But waiting in the wings and sort of being forgotten about has
Yeah.
been Noah Clowney, who we've heard has put on 10, 15 pounds of muscle. And this is a guy that, look, the Nets are not afraid to run small. They would put Clowney at center spot. Sometimes in the big four, like in the big three, Katie was the tallest guy out on the court. The Nets are not afraid to run small offenses. And I don't know where Noah Clowney fits into this team. I've been hearing him anywhere from 3 through 5. I have him as a power forward. That's his role in the team. But that's obviously what Michael Porter Jr. is going to do. So I think it's interesting how Jordy Fernandez sort of mixes and matches here. He's still trying to evaluate these young guys, but obviously MPJ is a guy you're looking at to play 32 minutes a night. First of all, what does Noah Clowney's role on this team do for you? And what is your excitement level moving into the season for him?
So when the Nets drafted the 5 rookies, that's become the center of attention around Nets Nation, Net fans. It makes sense, right? It's the first time they were in the lottery. They had all these draft picks. They used all 5 first-round picks. The last one they acquired, I don't remember if it was the day before or the day of.
Yes, it was the trade that they facilitated between Boston, Atlanta, and Brooklyn.
Right.
Sent
And they got the
Kristaps to Atlanta. They got Man with it.
And they got that 5th pick. So they have all these 5 draft picks. So that's become the center of attention, which totally makes sense. And forgotten is Noah Clowney. And remember, he's the first guy they got back when they made the trade with Kevin Durant. They selected that pick, used him to get Noah Clowney. And he is just as young as a lot of the guys that they have drafted. And last year for Noah Clowney was a disappointment. I think there was expectations going in because of how well he played towards the end of his rookie season that you were going to get now in his sophomore year. You were going to get a lot more out of Noah Clowney. And it was a total dud from poor shooting percentage early, taking 802 million threes a game. I mean,
and shooting like 21%.
Brutal, right? Like not getting to the basket.
And he would just keep lining them up too. He had no regrets.
Just becoming a 3-point shooter and not really showing more versatility in his game, which I think 100%. A lot of Net fans from his rookie year thought they were getting. So you come into this season, I think a lot of Net fans have almost forgotten he's even on the roster. Like, yes, they know he's there.
Yeah.
But it's so critical for him to take a leap in development, because we can focus on the rookies all we want and how important that is, which it is, but you're going to need to have some of the other younger talent get better, or you're going to be spinning your wheels. And he showed flashes of it in that rookie season. I'm excited for him. I'm going to put the guardrails on myself because I fell a little bit for the hype after his rookie year. I thought him and Claxton were going to become a nice dynamic duo on the defensive end in particular. Didn't see it. Noah Clowney's got to go out there and prove it to me. I know he's still young, 22 years old, but he has to come out now and say, I've been in the league a couple of years. I understand this a little bit better. He's got to show me something. He really does. I think for the Nets, there's some pressure that's been alleviated because the rookies now have taken center stage. But once, season starts, he really has to show some development, and he's got to show that he's a player in this league because there's expectations. He flashed them early, and he's got to play better. He's got to not just jack up threes. He's got to get to the basket. He's got to show more versatility in his game, showcase that athleticism that he has. I'm hoping for a better year. I'm going to put the guardrails up a little bit so I'm not fooled again on it. But he's got to show something for him so that he can establish himself as a real player in this league.
There are questions, comments, thoughts in the chat. We'll react to those in just a couple of minutes after we hit on one final thing. David's in the house. Jonathan's in the house. You guys are the best. We'll get into all your questions, comments, thoughts. Check out Mike's Twitter. That's linked in the description below. Follow him there. Does great content with a little arch rival podcast going on. One Knicks fan, one Nets fan. And they podcast it up together. So that's always great. If you haven't checked out Mike delivers on Twitter it is. Everyone in the chat, you guys are the best. One final name we got to hit on here. And this is a guy that, not necessarily just from the coaching staff, but you hear basically everybody talking about how great they think Ben Saraf's going to be. And I'm like, Ben Saraf? But that was my least favorite pick because he had already taken Traore, he had already taken Gioman, and it just felt like, okay, you want another guard that doesn't shoot threes and whatever, attacks the basket, and that's great, but like, dude, we just got these guys carbon copy a couple picks ago, and we could package this and move up. So Ben Saraf was my least favorite pick of the draft, and I made that known. But obviously, the 26th pick, there's not a ton of expectation. And from what we're hearing, albeit it's going to be biased sources who are just in from the Nets, Ben Saraf's looking great and better than ever. So what are your expectations from this? Yeah. For me, this isn't exactly, distorting my view on things because it's only from people inside the organization. But you got to take how much they are hyping this guy up for a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming from inside the organization, so you do have to take that with a grain of salt. Personally, I look at it this way. You made the point, and it's a good one, that the Nets drafted carbon copies of each other, right? They took guards that couldn't shoot. They're young. They went in the same direction. My feeling would be this. I want everybody to succeed. I want them to have the best draft class in the history of sports, not just the NBA, 100%. But the history of sports. But if, let's say, two of the guys hit, and let's say Yegor is a total bust, and he ends up being one of the worst Nets draft picks in the history of the league, in the history of the Nets, history of the league. I'm going to be disappointed in that. I'm going to be really upset about that. But at the same time, if that also means that Ben Saraf is going to turn into an all-NBA pro and hit 7 all-NBA first teams, I, as a Net fan, I don't care if he was drafted 26th, 28th, 8th, 212. If he hits, he hits. And that's, to me, what matters the most. Now, I want them all to hit. And I'm understanding that's probably not going to happen. But if they took 5 lottery tickets and they took 4 of them on the same type, 3 of them on the same position, and 2 of them hit, and 1 of them wasn't the lottery pick, so be it. Now, that's disappointing for Yegor. I understand that. He wants to be the best player he can be. But as a Net fan, selfishly, I don't care who it is. I just want them to be great so I can see a championship in my lifetime. And I don't care if it was the 26th pick, the 8th pick, or the 40th pick. If they're good, they're good. Also, though, I do take with a grain of salt when they're saying this inside of Nets practice, right? How many times did they say, Ben Simmons looks healthy?
Oh, my gosh. Please stop.
It's the same crap. So once you
gosh.
see it on the court for
Mr.
real.
Street Clothes. That's what I think of Ben Simmons as. Mr. Street Clothes.
Sorry to bring up the BS.
Do you remember that there was that one game? I think it was sandwiched between him missing the first 60 games of the season, and then he missed another 15 afterwards. I think it was against the Spurs. He went for a double-double, and I actually thought he might be back. He was dishing out everything. He was getting to the cup, and I was like, holy crap, that's the Ben Simmons they were talking about, back in 2018. And Mr. Street Clothes, inserted himself back onto the injured list. So what a disaster that was. But absolutely, I think you can't base a guy, you can't evaluate a guy based on hype from inside the organization. That's
Yeah.
quite literally the opposite of what you can do. So
No, exactly.
I'm not banking on this to change his career, but I think it's a note. Like this isn't one of those things where it's like, okay, perfect. Cam Thomas, I think is going to be great. Ben Soroff's going to be great. Igor Jamin's going to be great. Did we hit on everybody in the roster? EJ Liddell, I'm looking forward to his season.
Yeah,
So
right.
the fact that you had multiple people highlight Soroff and the good work he's doing, that's got to show you something. And maybe if it's not about all his skill, but to know the guy has a great work ethic, that is at least something. Like, that's not something that's coachable. You don't want to be here, you don't want to be here. Cam Thomas, you can't. Jordy Fernandez can't coach him to extend his contract. But if Ben Soroff is coachable, especially like being willing to spend a majority of the season on Long Island, which I think is how it's going to play out. Unfortunately for him, there's just a slew of guards that it doesn't make sense to force him up to the NBA roster where he's going to be playing single-digit minutes a night. I'd rather see him play 25, 30 on Long Island and actually get his chance on the court. Unfortunately, it's probably not going to work out minutes-wise this year, but you get a guy that's willing to develop, that's willing to do what's right for the team, and that's absolutely something you look forward to and something you look at as a check mark, even though, of course, you got to take it with a grain of salt because it's just the Nets hyping up their own guy.
Yeah, I hope all of them are right. Trust me, nobody wants it more. I promise you. I want it to be. They say, hey, we got the next Michael Jordan here. Please.
Please, yes, absolutely. Smash the like and hit subscribe if you haven't done so yet. We'll get into a couple of your questions, comments, thoughts before we wrap up here. Beautiful Wednesday, September 24th. Media day was yesterday, Tuesday. First day of camp was today. So we got some interviews. We got some practice stuff, but now to your questions, your comments, your thoughts. We say what's good to Awesome LA. We say hello to David Moss, who says, start all 5 rookies in your dreams, my friend. That probably will not be happening. But let's get into a couple questions here. You want to load yours up? Free, have at it, whatever you want to say. Throw those in the chat. We will start here from Jonathan. Cam Thomas said he has no goals for the season, but to play his game, and he's happy he's in control of his future, while Sean Marks and Cam handled it well, which ain't true at all. I agree that's definitely not how it went down, but they're not going to flame each other in front of the media before they've even played. Like, the Nets have had PR disasters before, and we've seen a lot of them, but they're not going to go this far. And I'm sure Cam Thomas's representative agency has told him, as much as you don't like the organization, you just can't do it. Just ride it out, man. You're gone next season. By no means does this mean he wants to stick around. This means dead right nothing to me. And I was actually listening to Sean Marks' presser in the car when he got on Yes. I was listening on the app, and I was laughing out loud at the stuff he was talking about with Cam Thomas. Like, oh, Cam and I, great contract talks. I mean, we're right there alongside each other, It's like, okay, buddy, sure. So you had the cap space to pay him all summer, and you waited 3 months to give him the QO and basically, say screw you and say goodbye to your Nets, future. I don't know where you stand on the Cam Thomas situation, but I can sure tell you that's not the way they plan to approach it.
Yeah, he's not going to be back here. I think that's pretty obvious. I like Cam, and I'm just wishing the best for him. I do think that doesn't mean that he's going to come out here and, sabotage the Nets or the Nets season. Yeah, he's going to give everything he has. He's going to go out there on the court and, like him or not, think he's the best player or isn't. He's going to do everything in his power to do the best he can for the Nets. But long term, I think it's pretty obvious there is no chance that he's going to be back here. And yeah, he's got the idea of, I play well, my next contract's going to make me a lot of money wherever it might be. And he's going to be in it for himself. And I totally respect that. I totally understand that. I there's no problem with that, right? He knows what's going on. He's not going to be here. He's not part of the Nets' future. But he will give everything he has for the Nets this season. He wouldn't put a tank on them because he knows what people are looking around the league, and he knows that his value for that next contract is riding on what happens here. So I expect him to go out and have what will be his best NBA season as a pro. I would be surprised if he does not. But yeah, I mean, anything can change. Relationships can change. But I'd be pretty shocked if Cam Thomas is wearing a Brooklyn Nets uniform past this season. It's pretty clear that he's gone.
Speaking of uniforms, Nets fans, if you haven't seen them yet, they're back, baby. We got the city editions back. I was thinking, like, I think a lot of people are going to just get the city edition Yegor Gioman. Like, what are you thinking here, Mike? Like, is there anything else that I should be considering? I don't want to like splurge on like a. I would love a Danny Wolf, but like, not if he's not going to be on the Nets in 2 years. So, do I like sort of wait this out, or do I, buy it while it's hot?
I would get a Dayron Sharp jersey. You'll be
Sharp.
one of
That's actually a great one.
you'll be the first person in the history of the world to buy a Dayron Sharp Nets jersey too. I don't think I've ever seen one out there. I'm expecting more from Dayron. I was hoping the Nets would deal Cam and let Dayron get more minutes. If you're going to go out there and get a current net, let's go out and get a Dayron Sharp jersey. I'm going to go with that.
100%. I think that's a great one. The only Nets jersey I have the classic Brooklyn Claxton, which, was right after he signed the 4-year, 120 or $100 million contract. I did not think that he would have as steep of a fall off as he did. But if Nick Claxton returns to his 2022 form, which I'm confident he can, I think this is a bounce back year for him. And I think he's gotten a smidge too much hate from this Nets fan base. That could be super exciting. Another question here. Sean Marks made it a point to note that, excuse me, I had the cough there. While the Nets are learning from OKC market-wise, both teams are different. And Mark said he'll attract the right group of players. Keep in mind the Nets also hired, I think he was the president of Thunder Scouting back when they had that slew of draft picks. The Nets are basically trying to follow in their footsteps in terms of acquire as many draft picks as you can, and you'll hit on some of them.
They're playing the same game. They are looking to play the same game that they did. And I think they're buying time by using that as an example. And now, obviously, in Oklahoma City, it's worked to perfection. They just won a championship. They've got young players under control for a while. They just gave out money left and right. So I think it's smart for Sean Marks to use them as an example. One, because they just won the title. Two, it'll help him keep his job because Sam Presti might be the only GM that's been there longer. So if I'm Sean Marks, I keep handing out, look what they do in Oklahoma City. We're doing the same thing. And it'll help buy him some time, even though,
let's be real.
It's going to be very, 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 very difficult to even have anything close to that kind of success. They made some really shrewd trades, too, that worked out really well. Of course, one in particular when they got, MVP of the world. So probably not the same, but I respect the Nets for going in that direction because, easy to keep your job that way.
Yes, he gets to continue to play the long game and the waiting game. We will begin to wrap up shortly right here on the show. We talked all thing Nets Media Day, broke down a couple quotes that Jordy had to say, and you hope Yegor Gioman's injury isn't that bad because, that would be a huge turning point in the season should that injury go the wrong way early here. And we haven't even seen a game from the Flatbush Five yet, but boy, that would not be a good start to things. But Mike, you're the best. Appreciate you hopping on. Plug your stuff one more time for the audience. If you're watching the show now, like and subscribe to our channel. Hit him up. His links are in the description below. Mike, you're the best, man. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Yeah, no problem. Mike Delivers Pod on Twitter. Check out Bad Weather Fans podcast. I do it with the Knicks fan. I've been a Nets fan since 1994. First game I ever went to was Drazen Petrovic's career high, and it got me hooked. I've been close to seeing Nets championships in 2002, 2003, but they failed. So, obviously this year it's not happening. But Josh, I hope that, you and I one time are talking about a Nets championship here, even if it might be a couple years, 10, 20, 75 years down the road. But, I appreciate you having me on. Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Was a ton of fun. I hope so too, but I hope Sean Marks is out so we can actually start seeing the turnaround here. You guys are the best. Hit like, hit subscribe. We will continue to have training camp content headed your way. We'll do pre and post for every preseason game with maybe an asterisk on one of the NBA China games. But then all throughout the regular season, we've got you covered. Pre-post game shows, halftime reactions. Follow us on Twitter if you haven't done so yet. Follow Mike on socials as well. You guys are the best. Have a great night, everybody. Happy Wednesday, September 24th. Happy Nets training camp. We've officially gotten started. Let's go Nets. Good night, everybody. Stay safe.